Hello, everyone. We'd like to call the meeting to order tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, Mr. Lundberg.
Oh.
Yes.
Odie?
Absent.
Saxer?
Yes.
Telcott?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda, any additions?
Madam Chair, please note I have 2 additional items for the agenda. Under personnel, item number 12, to add to the list of approved substitutes, Tyler Basie, and then also item number 13, approve resignation from Gail Grace, part-time child nutrition services, effective December 14th, 2020. Both of those additions have been placed on the agenda being presented publicly.
Thank you. With that, I would entertain an approval of the agenda as amended for tonight, please.
So moved.
Second. There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. No conflict of interest disclosure or waiver request tonight. That takes us to approval of our minutes from our regular meetings on November 9th and November 23rd. I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented, please.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. I don't believe there is any community input tonight, so that takes us to our financial items. Mr. Lundberg.
Okay. I'm just catching up here. Just give me a second.
Yep.
Any questions on the bills and claims from the Board of Education? I had a couple items noted. On page 2, check to the Brandon Valley Food Service. This is a transfer of the credit card payments that arrive for food service payments. We deposit those in the general fund, and then twice a year we shift them out in the appropriate funds. Page 6, you notice from Lamb Chevrolet, we purchased 2 new pickups for the district, $29,905 each. Page 7, there's a high school weight room floor covering, $13,500. That amount will be reimbursed by the Booster Club. And then on page 11, the last page, U.S. Bank, our bond payments, $1,464,300 for the Fred Assam Elementary and High School refunding bonds, and then $1,450 for the Robert Bennis Elementary GO bonds, for a total of $2,950,724. Advance payments of $4,673 is broken down for you. Pay voucher listing, $61,440. Vast majority, which is substitute teachers. Just wanted to point out that I'm keeping track and keeping a close eye on our substitute teaching expense for the year. As I shared with Dr. Larson, my latest projection shows us approximately 20% over our normal budget, which would equate to a $60,000 over our budget line item. I continue to monitor this. Remember that this is a month behind, so it's kind of difficult for me. I don't get the pay vouchers in until a month later, basically. So I continue to monitor it. Food service bills, $126,685.
Any questions for Mr. Lundberg tonight on the bills and claims? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented, please.
So moved. Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Financial report, Mr. Lundberg.
Very good. The cash report for the month of November 2020 showed $17,130,000 coming into the month. Receipts of $9,586,000. and disbursements of $5,180,000, leaving $21,536,000 at the end of November. $6.9 million was in the general fund, $3.3 million was in the capital outlay fund, $1,174,000 in the special ed fund, $643,000 in the bond refund, $21,195 in the enterprise fund, and $9.5 million in the capital projects fund. The $9.5 million of receipts is itemized on the next 2 pages. Just a big portion of that is the first half of our tax draw, $7.2 million. Is the total receipt from Minnehaha County for this month. Investment report shows $7.7 million of funds invested. Payroll and benefits summary shows $2,627,000 of payroll for the month of November. Trying to get ahead of myself. Of that $2.6,425,000 was a one-time salary enhancement that the Board of Education pays to our employees. Also, the reason that payroll is slightly higher is we had a 5-week pay period for our hourly people, which equates to about $125,000 extra payroll for the month. The revenue report through November, 42% of the year. Basically, if you look at the revenue numbers for each fund, roughly they're all up about 2% over last year at the same time. That's all due to the property tax and how it comes in. It's timing differences in the property tax. I think it should level out in December. Under the expenditure report, the general fund shows that we're 44% expended versus 43% the same time last year. We will be having, that's due to COVID stipends and COVID expenses. I will be presenting a budget adjustment to account for those COVID monies that we got, the $2.3 million of COVID monies that we've been spending out of all the funds, general fund, capital outlay fund, and special ed fund. Otherwise, I didn't have anything else noted. Food service fund shows a fully accrued net profit at the end of November of $185,000. The capital projects fund, if you go to that real quickly, I just wanted to point out a couple things on that. The classroom furnishing budget on the bottom there of $750,000, I'm currently in the process of bidding that out. Formal bid process. I've had some interest in that. We had 3 vendors that are interested, so I think all 3 will bid on that, so we'll get a very competitive bid. I'm also doing the playground equipment as we speak. That is not drawing a lot of interest, so I'll probably purchase that off a national contract bid. Just if I have the opportunity to bid it myself, I generally do, but there's just no interest in it. The number of companies has dwindled down, so they are under a national contract that I should be able to purchase off of.
Paul, I have a question about the furniture.
Yes.
So, we're going to open the building and there'll be some classrooms. Will you outfit them fully, partially? What would you do?
In the past, what I've done, just to create consistency of the main furnishings, desk chairs, all that stuff, I fully outfit the rooms. Technology, I do not. I only outfit the rooms that we occupy for technology. Otherwise, we buy full set of furniture just so we can have the same stuff. One other thing I had noted on the capital project statement, if you look at the expenditures under the construction costs, the budget of $14,155,000, year-to-date expended $6,389,000. That's about 45% of the total budget that we've expended, which we're 7 months into this project with about 7 months to go. So that should be 50% expended. And as you can well imagine, contractors like to bill a little stronger than the actual percentage that they're done with it. So it would Suffice to say that it should be a little higher than 50%, so when we talk about the project being behind by about a month, that'd be about $1 million. So it's an accountant's way of looking at how we're behind. We are behind about a month on that project. Lastly, the trust and agency statement shows $240,959. All I had.
Any other questions tonight for Mr. Lundberg on the financial report?
Madam Chair, Mayor? Paul, will we, budget adjustment for the COVID, for the CRF funds, will we do that in June? Is that when you would anticipate us doing all of that? Because there is a chance to have a supplement if for example, the substitute teacher line item was out of whack or whatnot. So would you do that in June, do you anticipate?
Actually, I don't think I will wait that long for the COVID monies. It's just such a large line item, $2.3 million, that it will throw the financial statements off anywhere from 1.5% to 2% every month, and I don't exactly want you guys looking at stuff that's always, and I have to sit here and tell you why it's out of whack. So I'll probably come to you with an adjustment here in the next month or two.
Okay.
Or a supplement.
Okay. And then
For the COVID monies.
second question or follow-up question in regards, and I apologize, I'm putting you on the spot. The increase in teacher substitute costs, obviously above the budgeted amount, we will also have some line items that are not expended to maybe the budgeted amount because of COVID as well. For example, I'm just going to use travel. I'm assuming our travel budget won't be at 100%. Do you see those offsetting, or do you think we're going to be in a situation where those two things don't offset and you have to supplement? And it's fair if you say, I apologize, I put you on the spot.
Right. Yeah, we will have some items that are non-expended with COVID related, but I'm not going to sit here and say that this for that, or substitute this for that. They all stand on their own, and so I'm not prepared to say it would cover that or anything like that. I wouldn't.
Question about the presentation. Is that a higher number than I'm just asking.
Here's what I'll tell you, Greg. There's two line items that we just received were the treasurer for the large school group, so we have $32,000 in there for that. And then there was a massive fundraiser at Fred Assam Elementary that you'll see in the student council of $43,000. That's got the number jacked up a little bit. That 43,000 would, that's 35,000 more than there. Right. That would be the main thing there. Any other questions?
If there are no other questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the financial report as presented tonight.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That
you.
takes us to our general business section. Administration reports, Superintendent Larson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Two items to update you on this evening and outline. So Inspiration Elementary School construction contract. Those kindergarten through second graders that are impacted by the boundary change are also going to be receiving that specific notice. The letters are a little different because those individual kids do have to apply for in-district open enrollment. In February, we'll process those open enrollment requests that have been sent back into us by those respective families. Elementary staff laptop computer update distribution will occur this week. Hope to have them out to our elementary teachers here this week. Again, those were elementary computers for staff members that were purchased with CRF funds. The calendar, the academic calendar for next year is in progress. I would anticipate having an initial presentation for you at our next meeting in January, and then at our second meeting in January, we will look for adoption of next year's academic calendar.
I'll interrupt you. The distribution of those elementary computers should be commended to the guy behind the camera. He's the one that get those all prepped out, 200 computers that it just takes a lot of hands-on. You got to prep all those things, and I won't even begin to act like I know what you're doing, but good job. Thank you for all you do.
Very good. One district, one book, social emotional learning and staff and student mental health, cross-curricular and interdisciplinary units as well as community connectedness. An exciting project we really look forward to in the coming months, January, February, March, as we move through the year. So one district, one book. There will certainly be more information shared out with yourselves as well as staff and community in the coming months. Superintendent evaluation timeline is established there for your review. The tool will be distributed in February, and we'll work through that process. Budget overview, just a high level kind of what you're going to see as a Board of Education as far as a timeline and general process. I would state that it's tentative, always subject to a little bit of change from one meeting in a month to maybe the next meeting, but just know January through March, the business office is busy compiling budget forms, documents distributed, completed, compiled, all of that work happens in those months, and then it's reviewed by the central office. In February, you'll receive presentation of the 5-year plan. In February, we'll approve new staffing positions. In March, you'll have the preliminary capital outlay budget presented, and you'll approve that preliminary budget. And what's important about that for y'all to know is that that's necessary for major items to be bid in a timely manner. So you'll be seeing that in the coming months. In May, we'll have a preliminary budget presentation, and then in July, we will be scheduled to have our FY22 public budget hearing and potential action. COVID-19 pandemic response plan update. Just wanted to provide you with an update on that item. The CDC and South Dakota Department of Health have updated their close contact quarantine policy. There are 2 alternative timelines that have been established: the 7-day quarantine and the 10-day quarantine. It's important to note that both of those require specific criteria if an individual is going to draw upon that alternative timeline. The 7-day quarantine, ultimately you are allowed to take a test for COVID on day 5 or after of your last exposure, and then on day 8, if the test was negative, you may return. It is important to note that if the test is positive, you are then out for 10 more days. So that would be longer than if you just completed your regular 14-day quarantine. So that's an important thing for folks to know, that if you do take the test, there is potential in terms of a positive that then becomes 10 days. The 10-day quarantine period basically outlines that after day 10, if you have been asymptomatic or had no symptoms throughout your entire 10-day quarantine, you are then allowed to return on day 11. So those are the 2 alternative timelines that have been established by the CDC and South Dakota Department of Health. It's really important to note that any individual that's on close contact quarantine or close contact criteria on site, in the event that you exhibit symptoms during your quarantine period, you are required to complete the remainder of your 14-day quarantine. So that's an important thing to note. So if you begin to exhibit symptoms and you're on site, you're going to have to complete that 14-day quarantine. So just a couple of items that I would note in terms of the COVID pandemic response plan. Status update on the City of Brandon masking resolution. I would just note Mayor Lundberg and I have had multiple discussions regarding the resolution the City of Brandon has entertained regarding mandating the use of a cloth face covering or mask in the municipality of Brandon. I have stated that the Brandon Valley School District does not oppose a resolution mandating the use of a cloth face covering or mask if the resolution does not include enforcement measures or consequences for individuals choosing to not adhere to the resolution. In addition, I have not requested language to specifically exclude schools from the resolution. Generally speaking, a non-enforced resolution mandating masks will not specifically alter our school district's current masking strategy. We strongly recommend the use of a cloth face mask and have incentivized the use of a mask for individuals within our system as outlined in our close contact protocol. We are acutely aware of the complexities surrounding this topic. I also understand that as public servants, individuals aspire to promote public health and raise awareness on personal strategies that may defend against COVID-19. I would encourage everyone to mask up, stay home if you are sick, practice good hand washing, hygiene, and physically distance when possible. The quarter 3 COVID-19 restriction updates are in progress. Specifically, I would note that we are going to be evaluating the 4 tickets per participant for our winter activities here at the Brandon Valley High School, and see how that looks with our 2 events that we have here this week, and determine whether or not that number of tickets will still allow for the physical distancing necessary, etc. But that's the one thing that we're kind of waiting on to see if we want to evaluate or change that. If we do not, we'll kick all those recommendations out by the week of the 20th. So note that those are coming. A few calendar items I would note as far as this year. Winter break begins Wednesday, December 23rd with a 2-hour early dismissal. We come back to school on Monday, January 4th. Friday, January 8th, there is no school for workshop and in-service. January 18th, there is no school for in-service and workshop. Would note that was scheduled to be a full in-service day, but we have moved that to half-day in-service, half-day workshop because of the teacher survey that we received in terms of needs at this point in time. So we're going to provide our folks some additional work time on the 18th. That'll also be our initial one district, one book time with our teaching staff. No school on February 12th. No school on February 15th for President's Day. I have a couple of additional items to note. Veterans Parkway or Highway 100 will be open tomorrow sometime before or after, or sometime noon or before. So the communication I had with Mr. Teedy, who's been phenomenal to work with through that project, as he's kept us informed of progress and all those things, will be open tomorrow by noon or before. That's very exciting. Obviously, that infrastructure has the potential to have a substantial impact on the Brandon Valley School District. And then the last item I have to note is a giant thank you to Greg and Sherry Carmen. You can see we have on display here this evening 2 autographed guitars. One is from Lady Antebellum, the other is from Sugarland. They are Edith Sanford Breast Cancer Foundation guitars. If you've been in our commons and noted, there is a guitar, breast cancer guitar there also, donated by Greg and Sherry Carmen. So a giant thank you to them. Mr. Lundberg has penned an artful thank you note and letter that I will include on our next school board packet, but wanted to bring those over and let you see them here this evening. Certainly appreciate their their support of the Brandon Valley School District, and the donation. With that, would certainly entertain any questions you have.
I know that right now we have the postings for Inspiration Elementary for the new school. Once we process those and get things moved around for the positions that are then vacated, will then those that need to be filled be assigned, or then do we open those for posting? Can you kind of go through the process then kind of for step 2 and then forth for kind of maybe some of our newer teachers and stuff?
Sure. So ultimately, right now, individuals that have requested transfer to Inspiration Elementary have done so in writing to me as outlined in the negotiated agreement. In addition to that, it's really important to note that every year I meet with the Brandon Valley Education Association and ask them to tell their membership that if there are staff that want a transfer to a specific building or a specific grade, to inform me long before anything comes open, because especially as we move later into the process, we don't always post things internally for 1 week because it gets late into the hiring season, and that can be problematic. But what we will do in this situation is, after our initial transfers are completed, if there happen to be openings that are in other buildings, they will be posted internally for 1 week prior to assignment, etc. So that is generally our practice would be, if there is an opening that's result of someone transferring, we would process those with an internal posting for 1 week before we moved forward with it. I would note that there are some individuals that have submitted an internal transfer request to Brandon Elementary first grade. Well, if I happen to have a Brandon Elementary person who has already decided to apply for Inspiration and they are granted that request and there is an opening there, that transfer may happen without it actually being posted because an individual's provided us with that information. Does that make sense? Perfect. Yep.
Any other questions for Superintendent Larson tonight? If not, thank you very much. Mr. Lundberg, anything additional tonight?
I'll touch on the FY20 ADM expenditure ranking report that we see every year. This is from the 2019-2020 school year, very similar to last year. The report showed Brandon Valley ranking at 142 out of 149 last year. This year it's 143 out of 149, so very, very similar. Just all the schools were very similar, is what I would say. What I would like to say on the report, that the differences in the spending come from, the actual differences, I would note, come from 3 things in my opinion. Opt-outs, some school districts have that we do not have. Federal revenues, and I can almost unequivocally say that we don't have those either. We have a little bit, but relatively speaking, we really don't have federal revenues or opt-outs. And the last thing would come from capital outlay flexibility, which we utilize that. And I would say we utilize that at Brandon Valley on kind of an average basis. Some are higher than us, some are lower than us of the bigger schools. So we're kind of right in the middle of how we utilize our flexibility with capital outlay. So our per pupil expenditures of $7,978 for the 19-20 school year. The comment that I would be most proud of all of the larger schools, it's very, very close to the lowest spending, if not the lowest spending of all the larger schools. But there's not one of those districts that has a higher average teacher salary than Brandon Valley. Lowest spending, highest average teacher salary. In my opinion, that's something to be very proud of.
Thank you very much. Any questions from Mr. Lundberg on that report? Thank you very much, Mr. Lundberg. With that, high school, Mr. Schleckaway, anything?
I forgot one thing, President Ohm. if Mr. Schleckaway can't come up with a rock band out of all these donations from Greg and Sherry Carmen, I don't know what he's doing wrong. My gosh, we have 3 of these magnificent guitars. We should have a rock band or something out of it coming out of this high school.
The business manager and superintendent are going to be 2 of those guitars, and we're going to see how good they are.
That won't happen. I just said to you.
We've done variety shows before. I think we can twist a few arms.
I think we can. I just got a couple items. I do want to bring January 13th to your attention if you are available as a board member. We have mid-year graduation. We are doing that this year. It's at 7 p.m. in the PAC. We certainly don't have to have all of you attend, but we'd like to at least have a couple members there to present those diplomas. Pretty quick ceremony, about 30 minutes. If you've been there in the past, it's really neat, really cool. We have 5 graduates at this time. We have another couple additional graduates that may make it. So 5 to 7 graduates on January 13th, 7 p.m. Just be there 5 minutes ahead of time and we'll walk you through if you're available. Second thing, the Brandon Valley School District Angel Tree record number this year, 300 plus? Yes, okay. 300 plus families signed up their students, and we only do the Angel Tree for our own students. So, and then there's a need and a want. Jessica Henson at the high school and Michelle Stemwell kind of head that up. We know we've had a lot of teachers come down and wrap presents during their prep time and things like that to help out, and then a number of our student council members will be coming in this Saturday to wrap presents. So huge need this year. All of the administrators in the school district stepped up, got it out to their staffs, and we had people wanting angels and we ran out. So pretty cool, pretty indicative of our school district and how we support each other. And the last thing I want to note, real briefly, and he's gonna be mad that I did this, but I think you can see a resignation letter of somebody in the board minutes tonight. And I do want to recognize Randy Marceau for all the work he's done in the 30 plus years in this school district as a teacher, administrator. He will be missed. I remind him regularly that he's still got a half year left. But he'll be missed, and he's really been a valuable member of our team this year through the COVID protocol and things like that. So do want to recognize him at this time, and he's left that activities program in great shape for the next person that comes in. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Frecking? Okay. Mr. Thorson? Mrs. Nelson? Okay. Mr. Skibsted?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Pearson? Mr. Babb? You guys are all quiet tonight. Ms. Foster? Oh, Mrs. Hofkamp? Mr. Horst? Mrs. Palmer? Okay. Mrs. Nelson, anything tonight? Mr. Henschel's not. Mr. Marceau, anything tonight? Your letter was a fun read. I'm just going to say that. So thank you. That takes us to our next section, general business. Under number 1, the Child Nutrition Services Shared Services Update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right. I want to just provide an update with you prior to our next general business action item. So in 2019-20, we received a shared services grant from Share Our Strength. It was a 2-year grant that ultimately funded a registered dietitian in totality for the Brandon Valley School District. In addition to the registered dietitian component of that grant, there was a provision that stated that we will provide CNS directorship services and consultation between our CNS director or a CNS director and a registered dietitian to rural schools. Then, at that point in time, we engaged with 10 other schools, 10 rural schools in southeast South Dakota, and entered into a memorandum of understanding with them, and they provide us a $2,000 yearly fee for the services that are rendered to them, CNS directorship and registered dietitian services. So this is the first year of that shared consultation services program and grant. And it's important to note that at no district expense did Brandon Valley hire a registered dietitian, And at no district expense did Brandon Valley provide the CNS directorship consultation stipend, shared services stipend, to our CNS director, Ms. Anderson. Ms. Anderson has resigned her position effective December 18th. She's been hired as the Sioux Falls Public School District CNS supervisor, same position in which she holds here. We, as you can see in our agenda, are promoting and bringing forward our registered dietitian to serve as our CNS director. That'll be effective December 21st. It's important to note we'll move right into the hiring process for replacement of the registered dietitian. I anticipate having that completed on or before our last meeting in January. At this point in time, what we'd like to do is we'd like to enter into a consultation agreement with Gay Anderson for CNS directorship services to support our new director, as well as our respective grant affiliates. It is certainly important to note that last week on Wednesday, I had a meeting with the rural schools that are involved, that would be known as the Dakota 10 buying group, and they were all on board with consultation services continuing to be received from Director Anderson. It's also important to note that I've spoken with Superintendent Dr. Stavum over in Sioux Falls regarding the situation as well, and she understands and supports the approach. The Shared Consultation Services and Program Grant, year 2, will be next year. And it's important again to note, at no district expense, we will employ a registered dietitian, and then we will also engage with Director Anderson in that consultation agreement for CNS directorship services for our director, as well as those other grant recipients. The consultation agreement certainly does continue for 21-22, and the shared services program for continuation beyond the 2021-22 school year would be dependent upon membership wanting to continue the program. And with that, we would also at that point in time turn over the CNS consultation services with those rural schools to our current CNS director. So our new CNS director, it's her first directorship role, will have the mentorship services and support from Director Anderson for the remainder of this year, as well as next year. And then for the 22-23 school year, if the rural schools would like to continue the program and the Brandon Valley School District would like to continue the program, what happens is the membership fee is increased from those 10 schools, and it's increased to cover the cost of the registered dietitian as well as the CNS shared services director stipend. So the amount of money that the schools pay for the services goes up. The grant helped to get off the ground, but if they'd like to continue, the membership would like to continue, we will work through that in the spring of 2022. So with that, I would certainly entertain any questions you have, but I tried to lay it out in a very linear fashion that allows you to see where we started and where we're at and where we're going.
So I may not be linear enough, I don't know.
Sure.
So there is no additional cost to the district. Instead of the previous stipend went to Gay, and the new director has enough other stuff on the plate and whatever, so the stipend will just continue to go to Gay like it has in the past.
Correct.
Until we get through this phase, and then if we decide, then it goes to the CNS. So
Correct.
Basically all that stuff stays in place and all of that. Right?
Correct.
I was linear enough. Yeah, okay, thanks.
You bet. With that, I would certainly entertain any other questions. No action necessary except for item 2.
Okay. So item 2 is to approve the consultation agreement for child nutrition directorship services with Gay Anderson for $4,000 for the 2021 school year and $8,000 for the 2021-22 school year, as Dr. Larson just presented.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item, approve the 2021 school board election date of June 15th, 2021. I would entertain a motion to approve that as presented, please.
So moved.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Personnel, we discussed that at the beginning of the meeting, items 1 through 13. I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented, please.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. One information only request for your review there. Under communication, there are some building permit applications, as well as some Board of Education thank yous. There's multiple of those there for your review. That takes us to formal board reports. Does anyone have a formal board report that they would like to present tonight?
I could just give an update. We had the delegate meeting a few weeks ago at the state level. Obviously, the biggest subject at hand is just supporting teacher pay and funding for schools. That's a little bit more of, I wouldn't say it's still the priority, but Governor Noem has given her address and has already put forth a very healthy budget for schools. So we will continue just to make sure and monitor that that is what does come forth, as it is higher than what we have seen in the past. It is at and above the current CPI, so that is very hopeful. There's also some additional monies that she has talked about. We're waiting to get further details. I know Superintendent Larson has continued to converse with individuals in peer to get more information. So that's just very good at this time to get kind of that first kind of order of business out of the way. But we will continue to monitor and make sure that continues to stay a priority. I will say that for large schools, the other subject matter is mental health, which current time that makes sense. And then the other hot topic, which when we shared at the legislative process came to be a very interesting conversation, was the new marijuana laws. It's going to be quite a while till those get to be anywhere, but the funding that falls through for that will come towards schools. But that's way down the road, but that is something that is on our minds. So that's kind of what came out of the delegate assembly for right now.
We had a curriculum meeting last week, just 3 quick items, overviews. Special education, survey results from parents is one of the tools that's required, getting their feedback on a number of questions. We also discussed how we could perhaps increase participation of some of the parents in that survey and so forth, but the results were quite good, above the state expectation, and it is a matter that does reflect on the school district. So congratulations to the special education department and Kyle for the work with that. It's important that those kids and those parents feel valued, and it appears as though they do. Second item, dealing with curriculum and where we're at. English language arts, making the purchases and doing all the pieces there. Math, we're in the investigation phase about where we're going to go with that. So those processes are in their normal place, and time will tell on all those pieces, but staff has been allowed and continue to be, like they always are in this district, participation in the selection of materials, and we'll receive training with the materials and so forth. So I think we're hearing good things on that side. And finally, testing, we'll see, won't we? The state says yes, but I guess we'll see. And I think they just, and that was not a part of our meeting, but I think they said something about if schools were on the docket for being checked into this year, they were putting those maybe on hold. And so if you were on for this year, you might be next year. And if you're on for next year, I would imagine, unless they want to hire retired old guys to come in and help them, I have a feeling that they're going to back everything up. But that's the overview from the curriculum committee.
Anyone else? teach well meeting tomorrow, so I don't have anything new right now, other than things are going well, and I think we've got some good new programs down there and staff, so. With that, before we adjourn, I just, I know Mr. Odie's not here tonight, but he specifically requested in a text to Superintendent Larson and I that we make sure we say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone, and we say that on behalf of the board, and you guys have already heard it enough. Stay safe, be healthy, we need you. I'm not gonna say the other one because we all know we need to wear them, so. Anyway, with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.